we all have our own hero's journey of sorts in our lives, and the
Mm,
ups and downs, but we have to tell those story to ourselves to see if what we're actually perceiving is correct or not, because most of us are perceiving it in an incorrect way because of belief systems that we don't even know are playing in our head and limiting us, whether it be actual strength limiting or limiting us with disease that we don't understand why.
and as you
All
say,
of these
belief
things.
systems, it's so interesting because I had a friend who did a talk about 6 months ago where he was talking about truths versus beliefs and the fact that
Mm,
almost everything we think is a truth is actually a belief.
yes.
And you just have to push it deep enough. Why do you believe that thing to be true, whatever it might be? And you take it back far enough, and there's an argument for looking at it differently. And you go all the way back to the beginning. And I think that's such a powerful thing. My entire life is based on beliefs that I, in effect, have pieced together based on what parents told me, the world told me, social media told me, whatever. And I think that they're true, but there's probably a lot less things that one can truly categorize as true.
Oh, absolutely. And so many of those beliefs are really formed before the age of 7, they say. And then you
Mm,
carry them on subconsciously again, but they are there. Whether that belief is, you're told this as a child to listen to the doctor, right? You go to the doctor, pediatrician, oh, don't eat this or that, or, don't, do this because, you got sick from eating too much candy, right? And it sticks in your belief system forever, not just
yes.
the candy part, but to listen to your doctor, even if all other information of modern time is showing you, well, maybe you shouldn't always listen to your doctor. They're not helping me in some ways. And so we don't even know that a lot of times of what happens from 1 to 7. And I think it's something to be said that it's incredibly hard for any parent and any child to get it right.
Yeah.
Especially if you're first child, first time around, you're going to have things that just show up and are challenges and may impact your child. But this is why it's so important later in life to be introspective, to look into what are those belief systems, to start questioning things, to always be writing down your story because you don't know what's holding you back. But it probably is something from a very long time ago.
Yes.
What were you talked about all the things you were doing and basically writing this down in your notes so many times and telling this story. Did you ever get to a more pivotal point of, oh wow, it was that, I'm remembering 5 years old, something
Mm,
that wow was innocuous, but it really does impact me.
yes. Yeah. I definitely did come to that. I can picture myself sat in our bedroom chatting with my wife when I just said to her, I've had a bit of an aha. There's an image I've got of myself, and I'm somewhere between maybe 3 and 6. And
Mm,
there's something around maybe having been an only child or whatever it was that had me questioning certain things around safety, security, etc. And the details don't really matter for here. Um, but it was like, that's a big one for me. How I program that is a big one for me. And as you say, it's like, it's big on parents. So like my mum or dad could listen to this and go, did I do something wrong or whatever else? Like, well, no. Because
right.
first of all, I genuinely believe the thing that everyone does their best they can with what they believe to be possible and true in that moment. I genuinely believe that. And we don't have that complete control. I know that the stuff that my wife and I have done with the best intention in the world that will have had an impact on our children in not the most useful way to them,
Mhm.
but we do our very best with it. And as you say, it's up to us to try and support them with the idea that as they become adults, or hopefully they go find that for themselves. Hey, the stuff that you'll need to keep working on. We did a pretty good job, but we won't get it all right. We may have misled you by accident, or you may have had an experience that you blew out of all proportion at 4 years old. And therefore you see the world in a certain way. And it's not even about right or wrong. It's just a belief that you've created, and ask yourself the question, is it serving you? Is it actually making you happier, healthier, more fulfilled? And if it isn't, it's probably up for a rewrite. It can be done. You have to decide to put that effort in. So yeah, I found stuff and
Mhm.
I'm working through that stuff. And I think that's an important thing to always be doing.
Oh yeah. I mean, there is no stopping in this healing journey, and you'll learn things as you go along and peel back layers of the onion. It's the one thing I always tell patients that I think needs to change in the healthcare system and medicine is that, when you're going through a medical treatment, that is just the beginning of something. That'll peel back your initial layers, serve as a catalyst, but you have a long road ahead of you to truly get to where you need to be, and it will always be there. You're always healing every single
Mm,
second of every single day. And it comes in sometimes waves. There are evolutions to healing. There are times where you're just going to receive some inspiration about what happened in the past that may be holding me back, but you got to look for it. And it goes, I know that you read my newsletter, and I talked about synchronicity. What RFK Jr. told me a story about Carl Jung in his book Synchronicity. But the big thing about synchronicity is you have to be willing to look for it. You have to have it in your mind and awareness field to search for answers. If you don't put that even in the awareness field, it'll never come to you. You won't see the synchronicity, even though it's everywhere around you.
Yeah.
Did you find that as well, that once you started writing, once you started being introspective, once you took these new actions in your life, that the answers came just because of that?
Yeah, answers do come quicker. I agree with you. That I guess it's that people talk about the reticular activating system, the bit that says, well, now the minute I'm thinking of buying my red Tesla, there's suddenly red Teslas everywhere because it's what I'm looking for. There was no more red Teslas today than yesterday, but it's on my mind. So I over focus on that thing. So I believe in that. So I said before, my life seems to be full of ever more coincidences, and I do much prefer synchronicity. And I don't believe in coincidences anymore because it happens too often. But I think every time I say that out loud, I'm convincing myself all the more that there will be more of these synchronous moments, which means I'm going to go looking for them, which means maybe in the past that have passed me right by because I wasn't looking to see it. Because there's apparently, did he say something like there's 2 million pieces of information coming at us every second, but we can only process like plus or minus around 7 of them, whatever the number is. It's always those crazy kind of numbers of zeros. So I've got to eliminate 1.9999 whatever million things. So I'm going to be very, very selective. So if I go looking for the right stuff, the stuff that's going to be most useful to me, these coincidental synchronous moments, I'm probably going to find more and more of them. And then that pattern rolls. And that seems to be the case. And the more I unravel or peel back that onion, then the easier it gets to see the next thing and the next opportunity, the next way to grow. What's funny about all of this, I don't know why this pops into my head, is I've then had the conversation with myself. Well, so does that mean all the physical stuff doesn't matter anymore? So does that mean I don't need to go for a walk every day and eat grass-fed meat and get some sunshine and lift weights and everything else because it's all in the mind ultimately? And I think that again is maybe where so much medicine and health in general goes wrong. It's always about either or. And I believe in and. I'm such a huge fan of and. Let's just go look after all of it. Do all the right physical stuff, and if you're still not right, there's probably something in the mind that needs addressing. Do all the right mental stuff, and you're not quite where you need to be. There's probably something physical you need to go and do. Let's really deeply address all of it. We are a complicated being, so it takes some complication maybe and detailed work to get where you need to get to. There's also an argument for simplification. Just stop eating processed foods, get off your ass and go and do stuff, live more naturally, and have better thoughts, which is how the hell does one do that? But maybe there's a big picture simplification that's important here. It kind of all matters.
It does. And I think when you look at it from even a historical standpoint, you look at things like alchemists that saw the world as more than the sum of its parts, and that it was a spiritual, mental plane and a physical plane, and we reside in all of them at once. And it's not to say any one is more important than the other. You have to care for all of them. You can believe you're a spiritual, being in this rented body of ours, but then let's take care of the rental, right?
Yes,
even
absolutely.
if we are the spiritual beings, or the other way around. Also, I think nowadays, of course, it's very easy to get very caught up in the physical. You go to the gym, you eat right, you spend money on looking a certain way. It's Botox, it's this, it's that, and we completely neglect the mental and spiritual aspect. Are we even satisfied with all the things we're doing from a spiritual take? Probably not. And are we just anxious about how we look at all times, even though we're spending all of this time hyper-focusing on that physical body?
So and potentially very caught up in the idea that everybody else is looking at us and cares, and that we should care that everybody else is looking at us, when actually no one's looking at us. No one's worried about themselves. Everyone's actually worried about what everybody else is thinking. So by default, who gives a shit what anybody else thinks?
Right?
It's probably
one of the hardest things. It's like the fear of judgment, of embarrassment. These are such drivers of our everyday actions. when if you really took a step back again and were able to look at it from an outside perspective, no one gives a shit about you. Let's be honest. Like, you know, not in the way you think they do. Of course, your family cares and people care, but
care and love, but not judgment.
But they're not judging you at every second. And even if they are, it doesn't matter in a sense if you let go of that notion.